Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Bella Gamer, and today we're covering the final of the 3 Rivethun archetypes, the Involutionist. Now, this one is very interesting indeed, if covered with a veneer of kind of being a somewhat basic archetype. But there's a gem underneath this kind of rough exterior, and I'm going to show it to you here today. But before we get into the video, I just wanted to say that Paizo did send me a copy of Divine Mysteries for the sake of review, but this is not paid content, so they're not paying me for this video, so all thoughts and opinions here are my own. And honestly, I had a very negative video right before I re-recorded for this one, because I think I was really missing what this archetype was really about, and I was stuttering all over the place, so, you know, I almost went through with that. So just know that I'm not afraid to rip Paizo a new one when any of these kind of videos come out, but I do want to give them at least the best light possible. But hey, if we're talking about chilling, then why not check out Into the AM? So Into the AM sends me shirts so that I can talk to you guys about how awesome their shirts are. Now, if this was just about sending me like 6 shirts or whatever, I wouldn't be doing Into the AM if the shirts weren't good. They are really, really good. They're this nice cotton material and they feel really good. I've been losing weight and I bought these shirts to be a little bit on the tight side to, you know, motivate myself to fit in. And they still feel pretty good, honestly. I like tight shirts in the first place, but still, like, they're this nice cotton material. Some of them I've been wearing for months and they still look really nice. The graphics on them don't just wash off after 1 or 2 times. So, you know, and they also have a really good deal going on right now. Check out these cool shirts behind me as I talk about it, because I really do like these shirts. They have this really killer deal until December 8th, where you can get up to 60% off on most things on their site. And that's not including my 10% discount code linked in the description below. So use that link to go to their website and get 10% off. There's no reason not to, honestly. And because of the big sale, I know some of you have already been going out, getting some Christmas gifts and other, you know, kind of holiday stuff, or maybe just getting yourself, like, I get a notification every time someone uses my code. So that being said, I know you guys are liking it, and that just motivates me to let more people know. These are really good shirts, and I haven't heard any complaints once. But hey, you don't have to do that to support the channel. All you have to do is watch the video. I just wanted to give you guys knowledge of this deal before it ends on December 8th. But now that the shilling is done, let's talk about the Rivethun Involutionist. Now, I've said in several of my prior videos, I don't know what Involutionist means. And I still don't think I know what it means, even after looking up the description. So I'm going to give you the Wikipedia article here, and my base assumption is it's like a pre-evolution where the soul gets enough mass before it descends to the material plane and begins the process of evolution. It's evolution and cosmology kind of wrapped into a singular concept. It fits the general Rivethun idea of like a spirit kind of descending to the material plane and becoming a physical creature at that point. And while that's not necessarily a Rivethun ideal, it is kind of what this is describing. So I'm not the most educated on this particular subject, so don't quote me on any of this. Look it up yourself, but that's roughly the idea, is kind of the process, the round is what it was called, of a soul joining the evolutionary process. It matches the kind of spiritual tone, and it's very esoteric. So, you know, I mean, they could just come up with their own word and I would have been just as happy with it. So I'm not too pressed about it, but yeah, that's what Involutionist means. But this archetype is interesting. Well, okay, so this archetype fills a very specific niche. If you like spellcasting and animal companions, then this is going to be the only archetype you're going to want to pick up. But if you want one or the other, you're probably better off looking somewhere else. I'll explain a little bit more about that later, but first, let's go ahead and look at the dedication. So, the dedication is like every other Rivethun archetype so far. You need 2 skill proficiencies, one of which needs to be religion, and this one needs nature. And when you get this dedication, you get expert proficiency in both of these skills. That's really good. I've said this in the other videos, but that's really good. Expert proficiencies in an archetype dedication are really hard to come by, and you get 2 in this particular archetype. Other than that, you just get the basic, like, whenever you do a multi-class archetype into a spellcaster, benefits. So for this one, you get trained in divine spells and divine spell attack rolls and DCs, and you get 2 cantrips to add to your repertoire. So it's repertoire casting. I know how many of you love that kind of stuff, and that's kind of it. That there's not anything unique or special here, and this particular archetype is just that. It doesn't really give us anything new. It just does it in a way that's new as far as archetypes are concerned. I do want to make mention that this is an uncommon archetype, even though I have no idea why it would be uncommon, other than the fact that you need to be a part of the Rivethun Covenant to gain access to this. But those are mostly, Pathfinder Society problems. So if you're not in Pathfinder Society, not a big deal. But if you are, this is only uncommon, which I know is a little cheaper to get. And the Rivethun Covenant is honestly not that bad. Just something to keep in mind before we kind of get into it. Before we get to the animal companion part, I want to make mention that the first feat here on the list is the basic Rivethun spellcasting. It just gives you basic spellcasting. That's it. You get divine spells, which, by the way, I don't think I mentioned before, but you use wisdom as your key ability modifier for it. Not too bad in particular, but it's just basic spellcasting. Now, the next feat, though, is a little bit interesting because we get access to a spirit companion. Now, the spirit companion doesn't have any passive features, but instead it's a young animal companion. And with this young animal companion, you get it becomes blessed by the spirit, which means you can use a sustain action to give it the ability to do only spirit damage with its attacks, at least until the beginning of your next turn. So you get an animal companion that is good against enemies that have a lot of physical resistance, or enemies that might have a spiritual weakness. Honestly, not too bad. My only real gripe with this one is the extra action costs. You do need to sustain it in order to get this benefit, and it only lasts until the start of your next turn. And that's not including the fact that you actually need to command your animal companion in the first place. So I'm not a big fan of that. Honestly, how I would do it is I would make it where, as a part of commanding an animal, you can sustain this to give them spirit damage, or just make it where your animal companion can do spirit damage if that damage would be more beneficial. I think there's no reason to add extra action load, especially because the whole point of an animal companion is the action efficiency. You get 2 actions essentially for 1 command and animal action, which is pretty good. So the extra action cost kind of just wastes some of the potential of the animal companion. So, use my homebrew if you feel that would be better, or if you think this is balanced, then you're lucky. That's how it's written. There you go. Like, the way I play my game doesn't affect that at all. I think it's interesting. I do think it's genuinely interesting, but if your animal companion just did spirit damage whenever it was more beneficial, I don't think that would break the balance of the game. But, that's just from my personal opinion. And that's pretty much the archetype dedication. Kind of. So that's the rest of the archetype dedication is these 2 features. You get both expert spellcasting and master spellcasting benefits. Just a singular sentence for each of these feats. Like, I'm put them both here so you can see. And you get them when you would through a multi-class archetype dedication. So there's really nothing special here other than the fact that this archetype gives you both spellcasting benefits and animal companion feats all in one archetype, so you don't have to do a bunch of multi-class archetyping. It is more efficient, and it's for a very specific style of character. Now, you get additional feats. In fact, the first feat in this particular archetype that's unique, quote unquote, isn't until level 12. Other than that, you fill the rest of the space with the additional feats where you can get the mature animal companion and the incredible animal companion. Though, I will make special mention that this archetype is a little bit unique because you can get a specialization ability for your animal companion at level 14, which is earlier than like a ranger would get a specialized animal companion. Though when you select this feat, you must choose the Spirit Blessed specialization. What the Spirit Blessed specialization does is gives your animal companion the property of Ghost Touch. That's it. Nothing else. It's a very like bog standard kind of specialization that's just it's useful, and you can select this feat multiple times to get the other specializations. But yeah, like, okay, so this archetype dedication gives the animal companion a lot of coverage for its major weaknesses. Animal companions don't do really well with enemies that are very damage resistant, or, well, physical damage resistant anyway, or against things like ghosts. And this gives the animal companion the ability to attack ghosts, granted at level 14, which is a little late, though the spirit damage will probably be very effective against ghosts, I should say, or to just, you know, it just lets you damage very tough enemies. It's a very, like, it's very basic. This whole archetype is very basic, but it's the only archetype you should use if you want both of these features. Like, imagine this, right? Imagine you're a fighter and you're playing with free archetype because it's really fun and I really recommend it. And you want some extra spell casting to kind of give your character a little bit more diversity and an animal companion. I mean, it's really cool. The idea, like the idea of a fighter who can cast divine spells and has an animal companion is pretty good. And this is very feat efficient to do that. In fact, this whole archetype isn't really, there's no competing feats really. Like, sure, at level 4, you have to pick between spellcasting or an animal companion first. But, I mean, that's not such a big deal considering that there's no other feats, unless we're including the additional feats, until level 12. And even if you select those additional feats, you can get the other one at 6th and the other one at 10th and then 12th. Or, sorry, 8th, 10th, and 12th. Or the one they have in 12th. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling. It's just, I don't know what to say. Like, this particular archetype just gives you things we've already seen before. It's interesting and unique, but this just fills a very specific niche, hence the thumbnail for this video. Unless you're watching the long form video, in which case, yeah, it's just basic. It's the only place you can get these two sets of feats together at once, which makes it kind of cool. I think this one's very interesting. If I had one major gripe, well, besides the whole sustain thing, it's compared to the other Rivethun feats, this is just not that interesting. Like, it's not, there's not a lot of story stuff. There's not cool mechanics to play with. This is just a unique combination of two sets of feats in one. But if you wanted one side of this, like animal companions or just spell casting, you're way better off just selecting a different archetype, Beastmaster, or like a multi-class spellcasting archetype, because at least then you could get, you know, more feats based on that type of playstyle. So this is the only archetype that offers both of these options at such an efficient way, in such an efficient way. But if you want just one side of this, you're going to want something else. I don't think that's bad. In fact, I think it's really good. As I mentioned before, the whole fighter idea is pretty interesting, and you can tap onto pretty much any character concept. And as long as you're playing free archetype, I mean, that's a lot of good use. So, you know, I think this is a really good archetype, but, you know, maybe that's just me. Let me know down in the comments below. And hey, while you're down there, leave this video a like. In fact, if you're watching any of the content from Divine Mysteries or any TTRPG related thing, we here in the not D&D TTRPG camp, not that there's anything wrong with D&D, it's just, we're just the other games, you know what I mean? We really need all the attention we can get in the algorithm. It's really important. Tabletop is growing every day, and I feel like we're coming to a future real soon where even the, you know, the casual players are going to start looking to other games other than Dungeons and Dragons. And to get more people into into other games, we need to show the algorithm that we like this kind of content. So leaving a like, not just on my videos, but on other people's videos, really helps the cause. And that's really all I'm here for. Though, if you do like my content specifically, then subscribe. I cover, most of the Paizo books a week in advance before they drop in stores. So if you want to get the information a little bit early, this is the channel to be on. And I also am getting books from other companies who want me to review them for you guys. So if you want to see some pretty primo TTRPG stuff, I do recommend the subscribe. But that's the Rivethun archetypes. I really enjoyed this line. I really enjoyed all these feats. And I'll be sewing all these videos together for one cohesive video for those who like to just sit down and listen to my voice for over an hour. You're insane, but I'm going to enable you in your insanity. So enjoy. Many people wanted it, and so that's what I'm going to do. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Good luck with your games. Leave the battle luck to me, and I'll see you in the 1 hour video. Bye.